Good morning, students. I am Dr. Neha Sharma. I'm a science faculty at State Tolaram Bapna Academy. Today we are going to discuss about the topic motion. You may be heard this term so many times in your daily routine life because motion is related to movement. This topic is 8th chapter of your book. From ninth class onwards, your science subject has been divided into three different domains, that is physics, chemistry, and biology. This topic, motion, is related to physics domain. From this topic onwards, actually physics is introduced. In previous classes, you have studied some topics like friction, forces, balance and unbalance. All are related to physics subject. So before defining this term motion, let me know about that from where this term motion has been come. One well-known scientist, Aristotle, has given a theory that the natural tendency of the body is to be at rest. That time, this statement has produced lot of controversies. And that time also when Aristotle started studied about motion and rest, simultaneously physics has been developed. From then only, physics has also come into existence into this world. From ancient Greek word, the term physics means nature. So it is the study of nature, or we can say it is the study of natural phenomena. Apart from that, Galileo came forward with his all innovative ideas. He discovered what we are going to be studying about motion. So motion is, we can say that it is when we define motion in simple term, it is related to the term movement. So movement of any object is called motion. Some famous saying telling that nothing like absolute rest. So everything is moving around us, like birds is flying, blood is flowing into our veins, fish is swimming, the fan is rotating along with the axis, the clock is moving, the hands of the clock is moving continuously. You can also observe that vehicles, buses, car is moving from one position to another. Even our Earth is also rotating and revolving. It is rotating along with their own axis and revolving around the Sun, due to which the sunset, the sunrise, and the changing of the seasons can be happened. So there are lots of examples you can observe in your daily routine life. So before moving further, I would like to define one more term, that is mechanics. Actually, the study of object in motion or in rest is called mechanics. It is a one domain or one subject of the subject physics. So we are talking about the motion, and the study of motion is known as mechanics. Mechanics has two further branches, that is kinematics and dynamics. Kinematics is related to that study of any object in motion with respect to time. Means we are talking about the movement with respect to time is called kinematics. Dynamics is define the causes of the movement or causes of the motion, like electrodynamics. Electrodynamics means study of any object in motion due to electricity. So we are not going further into the detail. We are just focusing and introduces the term, the motion, how it is happen, the different types, along with the different functions and formulas. Now the term rest. Rest is the opposite of motion. We define motion as any object which is in movement is defined as motion. So rest is any object which is not in movement is defined as the rest state. Means any object has two state, the rest state or movement. So how can we know that any particular body is moving or it is at rest position? So in science, we define everything with some various parameters. So we judge it that the object is in movement or motion or in rest. Taking some few parameters like by taking position or time, velocity, acceleration, we can identify that the object is in motion or it is in rest state. This time we are taking only the position and time. Like I'm giving an example. You see a picture that one boy is standing on the road. He observed that one car is moving from point A to point B. Suppose the car is at position point at point A at particular time, that is T. After 3 seconds, he observed that car is shifting to point B. So means at point B the time is t plus 3. So the car is changing its position with respect to time. So in that case, that boy who is standing on the road is in rest mode. Whereas that car who is changing its position with respect to time, we can say that it's in motion, that it's in movement mode or motion state, right? So we can define motion with respect to position and time, that any object when changes its position with respect to time is called motion, right? So by taking these two terms, position and time, we define motion. Another picture you can see that there is a park and one boy is sitting in a bench. You observe that initially that boy is in rest mode. After half an hour, that boy is not shifting. He is again sitting on that bench. So after spending a time only, but the position of the boy is not changing. So you can say that the boy is at rest mode or rest state. So I hope it is clear that how can we define that some particular thing is in movement or motion or in rest mode. If anything is changes or anything is moving or changing its position with respect to time, we define it as motion, or it is not changes with respect to time. So we can say that it is in a rest mode. So there is a one particular term I am writing that rest and motion. Both terms are relative. Relative means we are talking about with respect to, means with respect to some other person or with respect to frame of reference or frame of point or some origin point. What does it mean? Actually, when we are judging that some particular object or thing is in movement, so we define with respect to some particular person, we can say that is an observer, or with respect to some particular point that called as a reference point. And generally, these reference points are the stationary point, right? Motion is a relative quantity. So we can define these terms by taking some example. On the left side of picture, you can see that two boys are sitting. One boy wearing a red hat and another boy is sitting beside them. In that case, both boys are in rest mode because they are not moving. They are only sitting on a train, on a seat of a train, right? So we can say that because they are not moving, they are in a rest mode. Now, change the picture. Right side of picture, suppose some person who are standing on the railway station, he observed that when train is moving, right, the train is moving along with these two boys are also moving. So in that case, what he observed that with reference to that particular boy who is standing outside the station, these two boys are in motion, means they are in moving, means the state can be changes. It depends what is where from where the observer is viewing that object, right? Like you and me, both are sitting on our table, on our chairs. We are in rest mode because we are not moving, we are just sitting. But this earth is rotating along with this axis. and it is also revolving along with the sun, right? So in that case, if from some satellite, when we see that Earth is moving, they observe that we are also moving, right? So it depends that from where, what is the point of reference, what is the frame of reference, or from where observer is viewing that object. Along with that, we can identify that particular object is in rest mode or it is in motion. I hope it is clear to you. Just remember that reference point is generally a stationary point. Like I'm giving an example of that car is moving on a road and boy is observing. In that case, boy is stationary. It is in rest mode. That's why he says that car is moving. How can we identify that car is moving on a road? Because with the reference to the stationary buildings or shops or the road, because they are not changing their position, they are at rest mode, but the car is changing its position with respect to time, right? So we can say that these things, when anything changes its position with respect to time, is we define it as in motion. And if it is stationary, means it is not changing its position, we define it as rest. And both terms are relative. It is dependent on the from where, which point the observer is basically viewing that object. On the basis of that, we can only define that the things are in rest mode or in motion. There one more example that you can identify that on left picture, a boy standing in a park, he observed that plane is moving or flying in a sky. In that case, because that child or that boy who is standing in a garden, he is not changing its position, he is in rest mode. Whereas that plane who is changing its position continuously, it is in motion, right? Now, why this term is important? On the right side, you see a picture where one cat is just sitting on a road. With respect to that rat cat boy, this cat is in the right direction, whereas along with reference to the another person, the cat is in the left direction. So basically, the reference point, the observer's view, is very important by which we can actually identify the directions. Like if you see some movies that in submarines, the announcement is something like that there is some 90-degree north, or when in a case of plane, because it is also in motion, we define some particular direction. Or we can say an example like if you say that where your school is located, you can say that your school is located approximately 2 to 2.5 kilometer from the railway station. So railway station is a stationary point, and you can identify that particular location with respect to some particular position or with respect to some particular observer. I hope the point is clear that what is the meaning of relativity means with respect to some particular position or with respect to some particular frame of reference, right? So after that we define about the types of motion. So before moving or going ahead into the detail about the motion, I just quick overview, giving an overview of the types of motion. There are some types are defining over here like rectilinear motion, circular motion, periodic motion, rolling motion. I'm giving the definition one by one. Rectilinear motion. Rectilinear, the term line is inherent into it. So that is the motion in a straight line. Means if you're talking that there is in a left corner of the left side, you can see that any object can be defined into a three domain on three axes. X-axis, that is a horizontal part, y-axis, that is a vertical part, and then the z-axis. If anything is moving in any particular direction only, means that is a one-dimensional movement, then it is known as a rectilinear motion. Or we can say when any object is moving in a straight line, or movement of an object along a straight line is called a rectilinear motion. How can you define this term? Suppose there is a highway. One car is moving some particular direction from one point to another point. There is no curve, no cut, or no crossings in that case. So it is moving in a straight line only. So we can say that this car, particular car, is in a linear motion or rectilinear motion, or it is moving in a straight line. Another example, you see that a center picture of a train, that if train is moving in a straight path, we can say that it is in, because it is moving in a horizontal direction only. It is not moving in y direction, means vertical part, or in z direction. If anything is moving in any particular direction, means on one axis only, then we can say that it is a linear motion. There is one more example, like the right picture, rightmost picture, where you see that one building is there. If we throw one stone from the topmost floor of that building, the that stone can moving and reaches the surface. Okay. In that case, we can say that particular stone having a vertical movement, but the direction is single. It is in vertical direction only. There is no horizontal direction, no z-axis direction. Means the motion is in one direction type. In that case, we can say that the stone is having a rectilinear motion. I hope it is clear that we are talking about when any object is moving in one direction, maybe it is in a horizontal direction, maybe it is in a vertical direction. In that case, we say that that object is in motion and it is the rectilinear motion because it is changing its position with respect to time, right? Next is the circular motion. As the name defines, the circle when any object is moving with respect to some particular axis, right? And it is moving in a same distance. Then in that case, this type of motion is known as a circular motion. And as proper definition, an object which moves around a fixed point such that its distance from the centers remains the same is known as a circular motion. There's a numerous of examples. Like I'm showing some pictures over here. Left corner picture, you see that one boy who is basically a merry-go-round, who is playing with a merry-go-round. He is standing on that merry-go-round. The merry-go-round is moving along with the axis. The center point is fixed in that case. Some more example, the motion of the blades of the fan. You can observe that the blade is moving along with some particular axis. Or some more examples like the motion of hands of the clock. They are moving some particular reference point. The reference point is fixed. They are moving but in a circular path. Means any object when they are moving in a circular path, they cover a distance. The distance from the axis or center point is same. In that case, this type of motion is defined as a circular motion. Next part is the periodic motion, the motion that repeats itself after definite time interval. The very good example is that clock. The hands of that clock or arms of that clock is again repeating its time after some particular period of interval, like 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Again it reaches to 12. Means any motion that repeats itself after definite time interval is called periodic motion. Some other example, the swing, the girl sitting on that swing, it is a repeating motion. There's a number of examples where the motion is repeated. You can understand it by this earth's motion, that earth, I am saying that earth is rotating along with their own axis, right, in their own orbit. Earth is also revolving in its orbit around the sun, right? So both rotation and revolution of the Earth are periodic motions because Earth repeats its motion or rotation after every 24 hours, by which the day, night, sunset, sunrise is happen. Earth repeats its revolution after every 365 days, by which all season is changes. So this is the best example of a periodic motion, that Earth is rotating and revolving are the periodic motions. Next type of motion is the rolling motion. Rolling motion is a combination of two type of motion, that is rectilinear motion, and circular motion. So you can see that some vehicle is moving on a road. So vehicle is moving on a road. It is a rectilinear motion because it is in a straight line, horizontal path. Whereas wheels of the vehicle is also in a circular movement. It is moving. So both the combination, both the motion are happen simultaneously means the rectilinear motion and circular motion. This type of motion is known as a rolling motion. So there are so many examples or so many types by which we can define that how these things are happening.